Hi, and welcome to the Handbag Designer 101 podcast with your host, Emily Blumenthal, handbag designer expert and handbag fairy godmother, where we cover everything about handbags from making, marketing, designing, and talking to handbag designers and industry experts about what it takes to make a successful handbag. Antoine, welcome. Welcome to the Handbag Designer 101 podcast. I am so excited to have you on. This is truly exciting because we have been following your journey for quite some time. I have so much to talk to you about, especially the evolution, how you got started, the dates that are on your Instagram, what that means. I know everything has meaning, where you are, and where it's all going. So why don't you introduce yourself and let's get this party started.
Okay. Well, first, thank you for having me. I've been also following and watching and seeing what you've been doing, and I really appreciate it. Actually, I've been taking the time to talk to me and talk to us. My name is Antoine Manning. I'm the creative director of Homage Year. We started our idealized in 2014. We actually started making products in 2015. And throughout the years, at least the recent years, we've started transitioning into accessories because we realized that's, the best way for us to express our ideas in a more digestible way for communities in terms of it's easier to get that across versus t-shirts and whatnot, at least in my opinion. And yeah, so now we're just continuously just finding our voice and our expression and our storytelling through our accessories.
So where are you from originally?
I'm from the Bronx, New York, and I moved to Covington, Georgia in 2007.
Why?
My father, I don't know. I just know that one day my dad was like, well, we're moving to Georgia. And I was excited because I was a kid. And the idea of being somewhere new was really exciting to me. So that's how I know.
How old were you when you moved?
I think I was 8 years old because it was in December of 2007 and I'm born 99. So I was 8. So
by this point, did your whole family move or just you and your dad?
It was me, my dad, my uncle, and my older brother. So it was just us four in the beginning, and then my sister came along shortly thereafter, and then my aunt came along shortly thereafter as well. My mom, she stayed in New York.
So it was all the boys made this pilgrimage?
Pretty much.
Wow. Do you remember the journey? Like going there, moving, starting over? Do you remember all that?
Yeah, we drove in a U-Haul in a car. So my other uncle, my aunt's husband, he helped us drive the U-Haul truck from New York to Georgia. And me and my other uncle, my older brother, we drove in a separate car behind them. And when we first moved here, we didn't have the house yet. So we were actually staying in a hotel for 4 days as the house was being closed on. And we actually went to drive it to houses and viewing houses and stuff like that. It was a really interesting experience. It was really surreal. But I don't know, as a kid, especially going through that, I had fun. It was really cool. It was really enjoyable. It was exciting. I guess that kind of fueled an adventurous spirit within me to a certain degree. But it was really filled with good energy. It was really fun. I had no bad memory with that.
New beginning.
Yeah, new beginning.
So you were 8 and then you're in Georgia. And then you had to start all over. You were the new kid. You had a new house, all boys, which I can't even imagine. It seems like it's a pervading theme. And it's really great to hear this strong, positive male role models who are able to have such an impact on you so young, because, there is a deficit of handbag designers who are male, right? Especially designing for women. And what does that mean? And how do you really understand her needs and those customers?
Yeah.
So I think this is dialing into some really cool stuff. So at this point, you're 8. Were you one of those kids that sketched and dreamed and oh, I want to do this and I want to do that? How did all this, then what?
So the funny thing is, as a kid, are you familiar with manga and Japanese comic books?
Yeah.
You know Dragon Ball Z, right?
No, but okay.
Okay. Well, as a kid, me and my older brother, we were always into wrestling, into Japanese comics, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that. It's Japanese cartoons, pretty much. And as a kid, I wanted to be we wanted to make our own Japanese comic book, basically. And so I spent most of my time, most of my days, just doodling, drawing characters and stuff like that. And me and my brother, we would bounce it off each other, create our own stories, and then we'd share each other's story at the end of the week, and we'd read the story, almost a weekly chapter of our comic. And then as I got older, my palette for what I would be willing to do started to expand. So whether it be being a YouTuber or a gamer or a comic book, my I always wanted to create something and just create a space of and for something. So as a kid, it definitely bloomed. And as I got older, like towards like the high school ages and whatnot, my goals became more, I guess, realistic in a sense. But after like around 2014, that's when everything shifted back into the artistic, creative side.
Did you go to a art-based high school, or you just went to a regular high school?
Regular high school, middle school, elementary school, all the schools I went to are regular. When I was in New York, all the schools I went out there were private Catholic schools. But when I came out here, it was all public schools.
So you were wearing a uniform as a little kid?
Yeah, in New York, I was wearing the button-up, the burgundy.
Bow tie. Yep. With the vest.
Yes, exactly. I had the vest.
Yep. Yeah. We see the kids on the street and you want to make them into little dolls because they all look so, because,
I was one of them.
Yeah. Well, that child who's wearing said uniform has a shelf life because, there's a beginning and an ending of someone wearing a vest, and a bow tie and still buttoned up. And some of those kids are going to break out and others are just going to follow through. I'm like, nope, this is who I am. This is how I've been raised and bred. But were you doing anything artistic before bags? And, because I have so many questions about your silhouette and the colors and the palette and all of that. So how and the what and how did you get started? Like, you're not that old. I mean, you look good. So you must have been staying at it fun. So.
That's funny. Nah, so my artistic journey was pretty much always there. Like, I always had like that, like adventurous, dreamy mind, and I could like create kind of worlds, and with prompts at least, it makes it even easier for me to do stuff like that. But around 2014, my father passed away. So after he passed away, for me, I was just like, because in my mind, I was 15.
Oh, wow.
So in my mind, everything was...
It was turned upside down.
Yeah, upside down. Like, that's exactly how I describe it. Because I expected him to be alive forever. Like, that's my dad. So I never expected anything to happen to him a day in my life. So after he passed away, it basically made me look at life in a way where it's like nothing's really promised. Everything's very temporary to a certain extent. And I don't want to live a life basically where I'm chasing anyone else's dreams except mine. So from that point and that extent, I started to paint. Painting was my first medium of choice.
You started painting before?
Mm-hmm. I'd never painted before.
After this tragedy, you're like, I need to do something. And you just started where you was there. That's proper trauma, right? Especially for a kid at 15, it's still a tender age. You're still valuable as a kid. My daughter's still 15 and you're like a hormone crazy soup to begin with. So something like that happens, your family are your roots. You take away those roots
It's susceptible.
So the fact that you moved to painting as opposed to anything else, like who got you the paint? How'd that happen?
And that's what I'm about to say, because I would definitely give a lot of credit to my older brother, because during that time period, he was in college. He's 4 years older than me. So that was my transitional years from my freshman year of high school into my sophomore year. So that was his transitional time from freshman year to sophomore year in college. Right. So he was taking like... He went to Georgia State University.
So he was close.
Yeah. So he went to school like about 40 minutes away from home. I'll see like every other weekend, like when during the school semester started. But he was taking art history class, basically. And in art history class, they were talking about like, different arts like abstract and whatnot. Right. So he got to learn about like just different arts like Jackson Pollock and Basquiat and... Yeah,
you had a collaboration with Basquiat, didn't you?
Yeah.
I saw. So, it's like, wow. All kind of...
that's it.
Haven't even gotten that.
Exactly. The whole full circle really is. Yeah. So basically through that, like him going to class and like I'm telling him like, I think I want to try painting and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, well, like we decided to start having a conversation about it. And I started like seeing how like artists would channel their expression, specifically into abstract painting. So as the school year started and I transitioned back to the school I started at, it's called Alcovy. I went to Alcovy. I had a teacher. Her name was Caitlin Market, Miss Market. I call her my art mom because during that time, like you said, like, it's a very susceptible time period. Your world is upside down, whatnot. She was the person that really like grounded me in terms of art to actually see this is something that I can do, because I wasn't really good in the beginning, but she like kept like encouraging me to keep on going in that. Yeah, it's a good job. It's really good. It's really deep. It's really profound and whatnot. And she would just continue to nurture me.
Many people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Takes time, right? It's funny. Someone was talking to me about handbags and this and that and like being this expert. And I said, listen, I'm an overnight success for 20, and that was a 20-year sleeve. So it took a long time to go from here to there. So it's not like you become good at anything in such a short period.
Hard work.
People don't realize that. They really don't. Like they see your back at Nordstrom and they're like, hey, look at you. And you're like, no. You don't know. Like
we went through together.
Let's go all the way back to your teacher who said, no, try this again or try from this angle.
Exactly. And you live in Europe. So have you been to Walmart?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So Walmart, they had this, especially when I was younger, they had like this art and good section. So I would literally go to Walmart. I would get the little cheap paint, get the cheap brushes. Because at that time, I had like I would get like a $200 allowance a month from my mom. Because I still didn't live where she lived in New York. So I lived with my uncle and my aunt who were out here, who moved out here with us. So I would use her. I saw like on like holidays and like Christmas, summertime, stuff like that. I'll go out and like Thanksgiving, all those occasions, or she would come out here. But I would use like portion of that money that she gave me, buy canvases, like bulk canvases, buy bulk paints and whatnot, and then just be painting how I feel, just painting expressions. And then I transitioned into poetry, and then from poetry I transitioned into designing, and then from design I transitioned to photography, because all those different aspects of creativity, they give you room for expression in a different way. So what I can say with painting and like the visual language I can create with painting, I can't really create that with the poetry aspect, because those are not my words.
Visual to go with it.
Exactly. So, and I'm often like my...
that all of that is so up to interpretation.
Yeah.
So you create something, that's the interpretation. So exactly. It sounds like you were looking for something to make your mark.
Yep. And that's exactly what it was. My biggest thing for stuff like that, even now, if I ever paint again, is like everything is up to interpretation. Like I create things for my own meaning with my own issues and things in mind, but I don't know what someone else is going to get from that painting, and that's going to touch them or make them feel a certain way. And actually fast forwarding into when I was around like 2017, 2016, I was at this thing called GHP. It's called Governor's Honors Program, and basically it's like a state sanctioned thing where pretty much high schools from all over the state would be in like a competition for different majors. So yeah. So mine was art. The first year I did it was my sophomore year. I didn't make through. I made it through the semifinals, but I didn't get it all the way. But then next year I made it through the finals. And we went to like this like rigorous course like from a month or so, like just painting and practicing. I made this really big painting, like one of my best abstract paintings like today. And we had a show that we had at the end of the year. And I will never forget this lady. So this lady, she found me like on the last day of the thing of JHP at a party like we're having for everybody. And she was like, "Did you make that painting?" I was like, "Yeah." She had cried. She's like, "It made me cry. It was really good painting," basically. And after that, I was like that's when I really realized like the power in making art or in art. And that's what you hear about like the greats, like on Mark Rothko. People look at Mark Rothko's all day and just cry or like feel different emotions. So like when she told me that, I was just like, maybe this is something that I can actually do at a high level. But yeah, that's where my artistic, creative like desire really started. But in terms of bags, to get to the bags, we have to fast forward a little bit to like 2020. That's like pandemic year. So at the pandemic year, I was in college.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Georgia State as well.
And you stayed. Got it.
Yeah. So I went to Georgia State. I stayed in Atlanta. And the funny thing is about that too is like my mindset was to be, I didn't really care for school, but I cared to be in the city, because if you want to be an artist, you have to be in the city. That's just what it is. So I was like LA, New York, or Atlanta. I didn't want to go to LA. New York, I think I was prepared and ready for New York at the moment. So I decided to stay in Atlanta.
That's interesting. This is speaking so much to who you are, that you were confident, but you weren't confident enough to really jump on out there. So I think this is interesting. So you were moving forward with art, looking at it from a high level, like, I'm going to be an artist. This is what I'm going to do. Did you get a scholarship for school?
I was going to go to SCAD at first. And I got a good scholarship, but the scholarship still wasn't enough.
SCAD?
Yeah. But Savannah College of Art and Design. Yeah. So I was going to go there, but last minute, I changed my mind. And I don't know what it is about certain last minute decisions, but I'll get like a feeling. And I got this feeling just like, let me just go to GSU. So I just decided to go to GSU. I'm grateful I did. And I attended there for 3 years. I left in 2020 during the pandemic. But before the pandemic of that year, I started taking my brand even more serious, because at that point I was just really like focused on painting. But in that year, I was like, okay, I can actually do something with design and actually be profound with it. So I'm prolific. So let me put some energy into doing that as well. So in the beginning of 2020, like I organized, like I had my friends, like a few of my friends, we just came together. I was like, okay, like I really want to do a pop-up type thing. It's still like this is like the concept of it. The concept of it was called Words I Never Said.
Is this all art though?
No, this was painting. I painted. This was the collection, my first collection I was working on.
Collection of bags?
No, it was just I had like regular like t-shirts and like accessories. This was right before the bag.
Right.
So
What were they?
basically,
T-shirts. What else? T-shirts and what?
it was t-shirts, it was keychains, it was plush pillows, it was
Where are you getting the materials from?
some of them I got made through manufacturers. Other ones I had made in Atlanta. We did hoodies, we did ski masks.
So were you just buying the plates and you were doing the art straight on them?
This is for the pieces. So like for the hoodies, we had type printing on them. We did DTG, like direct to garment printing. For the t-shirts, we did screen printing. But a lot of the pieces that I made, the funniest part about it is that a lot of the pieces were like photographically like inspired. So like I would take photos and then I'll get the photos half toned and then screen printed on the shirt and then I'll write on top of them. So it was like almost like a mixed media type of the shirts. But all the pieces basically.
How much were you charging for the shirts?
The shirts were like $25, $30.
Were you making money off of them?
Yeah. I mean, that was the most money I made at the time. And yeah, and I was really happy about it. But the collection was called Words That I Never Said. And they all were basically like different sayings. And all the sayings were like very introspective and prolific and whatnot. It's a certain degree. And towards the fall, I had the pop-up for it. And during the pop-up, basically, or right before the pop-up, I had a job at Amazon. I quit that job to make the pop-up happen. Doing that pop-up, it was a week-long pop-up. On the 4th or 5th day, it got burglarized. So I had to close down the 6th day, get stuff remade. And then on the 7th day, we came back and finished it out.
It was burglarized?
Yeah, after it was done. Yeah. Someone like broke in it, stole the paintings, stole the rest of the shirts we had in there. It was crazy. But
how did you handle that? Were you traumatized or you're like, okay, move on, next, figure it out?
Yeah, at first I was angry. Like I was angry, but then the funny thing is like my uncle the day before that happened, like or the day of that happened, he was like, when you're there, like after everyone's done, after it's done, like, are you still there? Like, are you there by yourself? I was like, yeah, like I would do like the rest of the inventory, the inventory's there and fix everything up. And I'm like, yeah, I would. And he was like, if you're going to be there, make sure someone's with you or just don't stay like after by yourself. So I'm like, okay. And then the next day that happened and I left, someone had burglarized it. So I'm like, I'm glad I listened because I don't know what could have happened. But I was just more so like angry at first. And then I was like, oh, okay. Now, like, well, what can we do? So I basically told like,
you lose a lot of money off of that?
The good thing about that, at that time, the stuff that were taken were stuff that I could replace. So it was like, except the painting, but the ski masks were pretty much sold out. The hoodies were sold out. All the special stuff that and like the plushes and the pillows, those were sold out. So thankfully, no one could take those. But they took the t-shirts and whatnot. But I shut down the 6th day or the 5th day and the 6th day. And then on the 7th day, we came back and we finished it out. It was good. It was really good. People came through, showed love, support, really had the great community vibe. And then after that pop-up happened, I basically got internship at Yeezy through my friend. In Fayetteville, which is crazy because people would be here in Atlanta. And from there, I was doing like dyeing samples. My friend, she was actually making and sewing like different like samples for them. We had 2 different roles, and during this part in time, like when she was like making different samples and stuff like that, I was just drawing stuff out like, hey, maybe you could try this and do that and that. And the internship had ended. She had basically said like, you should make a bag, basically. And she gave me like a design, like a little sketch. It's like the Homage logo, but it's like a handle on it. But I didn't use that design. But then I went home and I was like, I should make a bag. And I have a sketch somewhere around here, but I just drew the shape of it. I just drew the middle with like the two-tone aspect of it, drew the little pocket. I was like, okay, I think that's it. And then I talked to a manufacturer and made it happen.
So how'd you find your manufacturer?
Ironically, I helped my friend find a bag manufacturer like 2 months before that. So I already had the manufacturer there. When she told me to do it, I was like...
Manufacturer domestically in Atlanta?
It's overseas.
Like China?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your friend was a designer or aspiring designer?
He is. He made a bag, almost like a work bag. It's just like a compartmented rectangular shape. Has 2 compartments on it. 2 handles, but it was a really nice bag. So I just found a manufacturer for them because he made the sample himself. So I found a manufacturer to actually get it made, so he bulk made so that he could sell it.
Right. So this is interesting. So you are an accidental handbag designer, technically.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know if you know the story of Rebecca Minkoff, but that's pretty similar, where she was in accessories and so forth and happened to throw a bag together for a celebrity friend of hers who was in a movie. And therefore, the bag got a lot of attention and traction, which was the aha moment. Like, why am I doing t-shirts? The t-shirts were the gateway to get me to where I am. Bags are, people are going to seem to be responding more with the bags. But now we can get into the nitty gritty about the bags. So first of all, how did your friend react when you were like, by the way, I'm doing this too? Because it's
when I showed him the bag?
Well, he was doing bags and you're like, hey, by the way, I'm going to do this too. I have an idea. Was he supportive or was he like, hey, I'm doing this? Or was he like, oh, that's cool? Like, what was the thought?
No, he was supportive. And I actually was very apprehensive about it at first. I'm like, dang, I don't want him to feel away. Like, that was my beef. I don't want him to feel
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, that's his thing. And I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I'm now doing hoodies. Like, I can't get into bags. So no, I didn't.
And I mean, when I talked to him about it, I showed him, he was very supportive. He was like, dang, that's really cool. Like, that's cool in X, Y, and Z. And I appreciated that because I don't know, you get different reactions from different people, but he was very supportive about it, thankfully. And when I showed him, he really liked the design. He's like, it's really cool.
Is he still doing bags?
He does a lot of different things. So he does like vests. He like does a lot of different things. So he did vests, he did bags, he did pants, he did shirts. He does a lot of different like cotton sewn works.
He is not a bag person.
He's not specifically in light bags.
So you did this first sample. How'd you get it? How much did you spend on your first sample? You only had one made. How'd that go?
I had 3 made.
What'd they look like?
I have the first one. It was a 2-tone orange one though. So that 2-tone orange one that we sold on a platform, that was the first one, but the shade was a little less saturated, pretty much.
Was it leather or was it PU?
It was leather.
It was leather.
Yeah, it was vegan leather. But that time was the first one, so it was really soft. It was really soft, but I didn't realize it was really soft until later on.
It didn't have any structure and couldn't stand on its own.
Yeah, like it could stand and stuff, but it just was really soft. Now the ones that we have are like just sturdy, like it has good structure, support. It didn't really have all that support beforehand. So I got that one. And that one was the way that we have it now, like the 2-tone, the 2 cuts, the pockets, da-da-da. Second one I got was an all white one with a red interior, but the straps don't come off and there's no like 2 cuts. So it's like as if this bag was just completely together, like no cuts there, and the straps are just stuck on it. Like you can't take them off. And then the last one I made was pretty much the 2-cut one, but so it looked exactly like this, but with no side, like no straps at all. Right. So this one came with the detachable ones. The white one came with no detachable strap. It's just stuck on her. And then that one, last one came with just like a clutch to hold it. And when I got the samples, I was like, yeah, the orange was the one. And I feel like I have something really good. So I got the sample in November. I didn't release it or show anybody until like March of the following year.
Why?
Because I knew it was something special. I thought it was something special. I didn't want to either diminish it I don't know, I just didn't want to see like, I didn't want to have the chance that someone else could make the possibly or like just recreate it or do it before me and do it better than me. So I was like, I'm gonna hold it and wait until everything's right and drop it when the appointed time is there.
So you made this bag, you recognize the bag has some sort of DNA to it. You know, being somebody who is so immersed in bags and independent designers and understanding your customer and designing into a price point and recognizing the 4 Ps, the price, product, promotion, placement, but right smack in the center is the customer. So it's so interesting because you're coming straight from the product angle. So you had this made, it was not leather. How did you know price points? Did you get a minimum? Like, were you like, okay, at the factory, give me the price points for 500 units? Like, did you know how you were going to sell? Like, what was your thought? Because I understand that feeling where you get this bag and you're like, now what? And to that point, I work with a lot of designers who are terrified to show it to people. Like, oh, no, they're going to copy. And I'm like, well, at some point you have to do that because it's not going to sell. And showing factories and buyers NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, they will laugh in your face. They will be like, I don't want to work with you. That's not realistic. And if you do it to a factory, they'll do it, but they'll put you at the bottom of the to-do list and they'll charge you X10 because they know you don't know. You just don't know. Yeah. So here you are with these 3 samples in bright colors, and typically bright colors, aren't the first ones to sell. The bright color bags are always like the supplementary, by the way, here's our showpiece, like the cover of the magazine. And when I'm looking to buy, I'm going to go look for that black. I'm going to look for that neutral, for that ox blood. So you have this bag. Then what happened?
So with that now, when I'm going through like that process, because I'm still trying to, allocate money wisely and whatnot. But from the money I made from Yeezy and the money I had left from the pop-up, and even like the other goods I had from the collection that I still was doing stuff like that with the collection too. So I would just use that money and funnel it into buying the bag. I first did like MOQs of 50 for each color. So I got 2 colors and I got the 2-tone green and I got a 2-tone orange. That's how I started dropping them. So I got those
green and green or green and orange?
It was a 2-tone green version. So it was almost like literally how this looks, but just green. So it was like a really light green and then like a really deep green. It's really, I would have one of the green ones. That's how much people love it. I don't have a green one.
Right.
and the orange one. And those two, when I dropped them with a new site and through a shoot with my friend Jalen Amir. Really, 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 really talented. Really talented. And when I dropped them, they sold out really fast. I think like a day or two.
Where did you sell them and how much were you selling them for? And where did you make profit?
I sold them on my site. I had like a really bad site in the beginning, so I sold on my really bad site.
Everybody has a really bad site at the beginning.
Yeah, great.
That's a rite of passage.
Yep. So I sold it through my site. The beginner price was $150, and I did make profit. But at the time, I was doing all my orders. I was doing literally everything. Like I was,
as you should be. As you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had like 100 bags in my house. I had to quality check them all. I had to, stuff them all in my hands. I have photos of me in my house with just 100 boxes on the ground, and they're all open, and I'm just there with bags, just like quality checking them all and just putting them, labeling.
I still have PTSD from the tape, the box tape.
Yeah, I actually love that. That's actually one of my favorite things. I love doing that.
That's
my favorite part. That's one of my favorite parts. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's funny how people respond to packing their own stuff and what the box tape does. Cause I'm like, oh God, here we are again, and making sure. Now, let me ask you, were you putting thank you notes in your boxes?
So at first I would, cause I would handwrite them. I'd handwrite the thank you notes and stuff. But then once I got to do 100, I got to quality check it all. Like at that point, my thank you for me, like the thank you was like, just making sure the bag, like what you got was just good and in ample time. But I definitely would like emphasize like always like posting and saying like thank you on Instagram to everybody who was like supporting me and supporting the brand, because it was like that, the love I felt at that moment specifically was just so profound and otherworldly that I don't really like, there's very little that can happen that could surpass that in my opinion.
You were boxing the bags. How many followers did you have at the time to thank those people?
I think on my personal, I had maybe like 9,000 followers or 8,000, something like that. And then on the Homage page, I think we were around the same amount of volume as my personal. So like around 8,000 people following us.
That's a lot. That's like a micro influencer because you already have a long community. So how did you come up with the name, and how were you able to build the 8,000 by the time you got there? Was that all from the paintings and the hoodies and the work you've done?
Yeah, I was like, I'm the type of person, I treasure and value all my relationships as time, like life goes. So I have a lot of friends through high school, middle school, college, just different aspects of my life that we're still linked in. But even so after that, and even more so than that, should I say, yeah, those are just people that I met along the way who always supported and showed love and whatnot. And the name of the brand, I realized like the brand and whatnot in 2014, but in 2015, a few people started passing away. And
is that what all those dates are?
Yeah, most of the dates are like 6:30 is when my dad passed. 7/1 is when I found out. 8/2 is his funeral. 9/5/2015, that's when we got our first T-shirt. And 2/1/2016, that's one of my friends' classmates had passed away. Yeah, there's a few different dates, so it's like a lot of different passings and whatnot. But Homage basically is just remember the year, homage to the people who passed away. There's a few different like footnotes and principles that we stand on. So yeah, it's just like creating a community through like design and through meaningful clothing, create things that are meaningful clothing.
Do you think you're going to keep those dates on your social? Yeah. You're going to always have.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And even so, I mean, it's gotten to the point where there's too many dates I can't add any more dates. Certain dates, if I could add on there, I would. But
do you think, though, as a commercial brand, what those dates represent are not commercial? Do you see that you may evolve as a brand owner and then incorporate those dates into your brand and your design?
Yeah, like I still try to look for ways in which to incorporate them into the designs and into like pieces that we do create. But from a commercial aspect, I feel like this for us as a brand, whether it's commercial or not, that those are pivotal experiences that people that have allowed us to be where we are. You know, if you get what I mean, like if that didn't happen or certain people didn't go away in X, Y, and Z, then I guess to a certain extent, Homage wouldn't be here at all. It wouldn't be here at all. I have no reason to be here and doing this. So I would say in terms of that, at the very least, their memory and paying respects to their memory is the least that I can do. And yeah, I guess that's just the way in which I choose to acknowledge them, whether it's known or not. So I don't think I would be coaxed into changing it due to like
I'm just playing devil's advocate just because.
I know.
Yeah,
I know you are. I didn't take it anyway.
Yeah. As a marketer and understanding the DNA of the brand, because I knew that those dates obviously had some sort of proper, deep, intrinsic meaning, but to grow the brand from here to there, like at some point, would you say, okay, perhaps, it's interesting. So I work with a lot of people and I have a colleague who's in mergers and acquisitions. And I work with a lot of designers and some of whom are making well into the millions. And this particular colleague of mine said, how many people do they have working for them? And I said, oh, it's small. They're doing really well. And he's like, well, it's still a law firm. And I said, a law firm. And anybody who's been part of our incubator and so forth understands what all this means. But a law firm means in terms of what you're bringing in, because you are unable to scale it because it's still just you, right? So it's basically, it's you doing everything and you're not growing the brand to scale. So yes, it's great to make all that, but what are you going to do to take it to the next level? And at some point you have to, and I'm not telling that you should do it, but that one needs to evolve and grow. And you have to recognize that this brand has to survive without you being at the core, because the people who are bags at some point are not going to care or be vested. Your story, what got you there, they want the bag and how the bag affects them, not how the brand affects you. So I'm just playing devil's advocate because I was looking at the dates and I'm like, it must be something monumental. It must be about something about people who've been close to him who passed. But what happens when you get to the point where you become commercial enough? And do you want people to associate these heartfelt, deep things, which are really hard to cope to a commercial brand? So again, conversating with you, because obviously the growth of how I see everybody's brand is I want every designer to succeed. And obviously being a huge fan of yours, I was looking at those dates and I said, I wonder how he's going to evolve with that, or if these are going to stay there forever, because everything on your social is real estate, right? It's an opportunity to help people. It's an opportunity to grow. And with using all that real estate up on those dates, again, I'm not telling you that you should change that, but you want everything to be an opportunity to sell. So even going to the FAQ on your site, which is something we talk about, I speak about, that like every opportunity and every minute you have someone coming to you, you want to sell them something in an authentic way. You want to obviously choke it down their throats, and you want to look at it like, okay, I got someone to come to my social. What can I do to sell them a bag? Because you're not a Van Gogh. Nobody's a Van Gogh. You don't want someone to buy one piece and hang it on their wall. You want them to come back and buy more and buy more and buy their cousin and the iteration. And the Balenciaga motorcycle bag, which is my favorite case study of bag. The big one, the small one, the hardware. Even with all that nonsense that went on with Balenciaga, people are still going to come back. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, like, let's not play. Everyone's like, oh, I'm not going to Balenciaga. I'm like, sure you are. I'm going to see that neon green bag that you've been holding. It's going to be out in a month. So what you might as well just wear it now and like move on. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, these are just things for you to think about, because I would never, like a lawyer, I would never tell you what to do. I'm just saying, like, for thought, because, also with your silhouettes are so special and so unique. And I love that you're doing the family, which I call it the family, where you have the small, the big, the medium, like you could tell they're all related. And that's something that many designers don't do. Like every bag they create, it's like they're not even cousins. It's like, like that parent definitely like had an affair with someone at the other side of the world, because the bags don't even look related. So you want to make sure that whatever you create can sit together and your bags do. And it's a very interesting silhouette with a cutout. So I love that you spoke about making sure that there was a crossbody strap, because we all know bags need crossbody straps. Not everybody, not everyone can do that. So, you want to talk a little bit about the evolution of the bag and the colors and how you got into those great retailers and where you're going to go from here.
In terms of the bags, like the colors, at least in the first collection and whatnot, I don't know. Like for me, in my mind, that we're like leaving a so serious time. It's 2020, going 2021. COVID just happened. Like we're now just like trying to find like a balance against real life and realism and So I just decided like we're gonna create some really just color bags that really express that manifestation bags that have certain like intentions, that choose what intention you want to bring into the new world and like to be mindful of. So from there, we just started creating these really beautiful colors. But then as we started to increase the price, as, realizing certain things, like as we made the bag better, increase the price to do that, I felt the need to introduce, at the very least, a cousin our family, to at the previous price to alleviate the need for our customers who would be upset. So like if the big bag was now 150 or was 150 and now it's 275, and then everyone was like 275, it was just 150, and now you have the mini and that's 150 now. So now at the very least you still have the opportunity to get this bag. It's a smaller size, much cuter, but it's still able to hold you to your utilities and what you need to hold in a bag. And as we did the same with the increasing the price and whatnot, once we got into this, started talking to Nordstrom about...
Did they find you or you reached out to them?
They reached out. Saks reached out and Nordstrom reached out. By the grace of God.
Wow. That is some grace.
Yeah, it is.
Because I have some designers that say, oh, I almost got into Saks. I'm like, listen, I almost got into Saks and then I went for sushi. They either take you or they don't. There's no gray area. Like you're either being purchased as to add to their assortment or they're going to pass and say, keep in touch. Let me see what you're doing. So really.
Yeah, so with Nordstrom, that's when the mini came to fruition because we were talking to them about, in-person experience and whatnot. And I only wanted the mini to be an in-person, like, exclusive. That was my enticement, so that it would entice people to, or even people to get their friends and whatnot to that really like follow the brand to go to the store to purchase it and just ship it to them or something of the sort. And we had a pop-up with them. So we did like the first mini was this fuchsia one, like this. So this was the first mini. Like, that's what's running with that.
So cute.
Yeah, so pretty. And then after that, when we started dropping phase 2 of passion fruit, our last collection, that's where we got like the mini banana and the banana and a peach. That was just history with that. People love the banana one.
Then lo and behold, you're a handbag designer. It's like, oh yeah, oh damn, I guess I'm doing this. Huh?
Yeah, that's what it grew to. I'm like, dang, I guess I am, huh? And yeah, that was just pretty much like the cuts of it. With Saks and getting to Saks and Nordstrom, Saks had reached out via email around 2021. It was like the June 2021. We're talking through email, whatnot, talking about different things. And then we got on calls. And through the calls, we basically did like an exclusive collection through Saks. We did 2 classic size, which was a black one with silver hardware and it had like the logo in metal, and then we did a white one.
Exclusive black one with Saks. You couldn't sell that black one anywhere else.
Yeah, I specifically did it with them.
How come they have an exclusive? Because the black bag is like, that's a hero.
Oh yeah, that was just for the collection. So I could do it now anytime I want, pretty much. Right. But yeah, we did 3 classics. So we did a classic neon green with gold hardware. We did a classic white with gold hardware, but with the actual metal logo, and the black one with the silver logo on it. And then we did 3, because this is before the mini was out. And then we did 4 minis. We did like this one, but not this color. We did it like in a gold and then a green. Right. We did a black vinyl, and I think we did another vinyl though, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. And yeah, that had dropped a release in December, like around December 8th. I was in Miami for Art Ball, so it dropped. And I was so amped. I was like, this is crazy. And then Nordstrom, that was the following year. Around March, we got into contact, and then we had a pop-up with them in store in Nordstrom Nike. It was Nordstrom Nike. And we had a pop-up in Nordstrom Nike in New York around, I think maybe June, if I'm not mistaken. But those are definitely 2 moments. It's highlight, very different moments.
Are you screen printing on the bags? The prints, the colors, are they screen printed? So,
screen printed.
So because I know some of them are like prints of material. Like I know the collab you did, if you want to talk a little bit about that, like those colors, how are they done? Because it's like paint splatter, no?
Yeah, so the banana bag, and even like all of our bags that have like some type of print on it, they're printed onto the leather, and then they're sewn in a way to put it together. So like if you hold this bag, it feels smooth. It feels smooth to the touch. It doesn't have any type of rough texture on it or anything at all. Because it's printed. It's actually literally printed onto the material, and then they cut it, sew it, and then do everything I have to do with it. And the same thing with the Basquiat bag. So the Basquiat bag,
So do those bags, like what do your customer gravitate towards the most?
In terms of like size or color, or
what are your best sellers? What are your hero bags?
So hero, for sure, the banana. This is our best seller bag. They love the 2-tone bags a lot. And of the Basquiat bags, I would say the mini is going the best. It's a red because it's so pretty. It's red. It's just really
Did
nice.
they find you or you found them?
Basquiat was done through Black Fashion Fair. So Black Fashion Fair is owned by Antoine Baby Gregory. And basically the estate, they're like talks of communication. And I guess they asked him like, hey, can you find designers and to collaborate with our estate? So he did. He contacted me, contacted Advisory, contacted Brandon Blackwood, he contacted.
Yeah, I saw Brandon did that too.
It's a few other designers. They're slipping me right now. But yeah, he's the one that put it all together. He pieced it all together. Thankfully. Wow. And that also takes it full circle.
Did they buy the product outright or you got the rights to do it and then resell it, right? Or did you get it?
Oh, no. It's all through the estate and all through that. And thankfully, because the estate costs like collaborate with like Basquiat's estate. That's a crazy like $275,000 or something of the sort. Thankfully, we didn't have to pay that. And thankfully, it's a collab. So they get like their part, we get our part from it. And we just sell it through their platforms just to...
Are you allowed to sell the bags on your site or they sell them exclusively?
To make things easier, they're selling it exclusively. Just to make things easier. They never said I could them, but in terms of like the allocation of the resources and funds and split of it, it just makes more sense for it to go that way. So
right. Okay. This is exciting stuff. So what's next for Antoine and Homage Year?
So I am looking forward to getting back into like my individual art, like poetry and painting and just producing more work outside of just designing. Like, of course, it works for different things. It's therapeutic in its own different ways, while also working towards more design. I want to transcend into different aspects of things on the accessory aspect of it. But
you're going to change silhouette? Are you expanding your silhouettes?
Definitely expanding silhouette. Definitely playing and dabbling into other accessory lines. Definitely looking to capture also like masculine customers as well. So there's a lot of things that we're playing with, and I'm really, really excited.
That's cool. Just be careful because you can't be everything to everyone. And that's when everybody expands. They're like, oh, I've got an idea for this customer, but like, are they really your customers? And what I always tell designers is to do a deep dive from where all their sales are coming and look at those cities. And then actually, if you have access to the data, look at the ages of the people who are actually buying your bags. And it's fascinating because I think a lot of people have these eye-opening experiences to realize that a lot of times your customer isn't this chic city metropolitan girl. It could be somebody who's living in a town that has a church, a stop sign, and a Walmart, and, is plus sized and might not be the chicest person from your perspective. And, their money's green and everybody just wants to feel good and special. And if your bag can provide that, then you know what? Those are loyal customers. And that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Before you expand, maybe make sure that they don't have more needs because that's a wide open space and that's your space to take.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no. Hey, I mean, honestly, I do a lot of collaborations and partnerships, and I always tried to amplify and elevate the independent designers with whom I work. And so when I see these opportunities, I don't like when people get in their own way because, especially as an accidental designer, it's so easy to be like, I'm going to expand and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But it's like you have this core and you're good at it. So I'm assuming you have strong sales on your site.
Yeah.
So are you getting more from your site or from the retailers right now?
More from internal.
So then you have an opportunity to actually do short tests instead of having to go all out, because that's the best thing to do to, grab, discuss, talk with your customer and say, what do they want? And can I deliver in a way that, because sometimes people are crazy, customers sometimes go a little cuckoo birds where they're like, I want this in purple and I want this. And it's like, okay, we all know purple doesn't sell. So you might, but nobody else does. So that cost benefit analysis, that's cute. It's not happening. So Antoine, thank you so very much. This has been exciting and wonderful. Why don't you tell everybody your name, where they can find you, how they can follow you? Because I think everybody needs a little piece of Homage Year.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. My name's Antoine Manning. I can be found on Instagram at Manning Antoine, MANNING ANTOINE. You can follow brand on all platforms, whether it be Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram at Homage Year, HOMAGEYEAR. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate you for taking the time.
Of course. No, this is exciting. We've got more great things to come. So thank you so much, and we will be seeing more of you, I'm sure.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Antoine. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review and follow us on every single platform at Handbag Designer. Thanks so much. See you next time.